Hey everybody, welcome back to Active Self-Protection Extra. It's Neil. I'm out here on the Widener Range. We're going to talk about a quiet draw to first shot.
This is not a paid endorsement, but I am a brand ambassador for Heckler and Koch for a reason. HK firearms are incredibly high quality, and when it's time to step up out of the entry tier, they're the only ones I recommend. You carry a gun just in case. Shouldn't it be an HK just in case?
So we don't travel the country and teach every single weekend. That's not what our bread and butter here is at ASP. Typically what we do is travel a few times a year. We teach the signature class that we teach, that John and I go teach, is called Evidence-Based Pistol Skills. And it's the skills that you would need based off of the evidence of all of the video that John and I and Steph and everybody else has analyzed over the years. It's upwards of 45,000 videos. There's a few things that come out in every single one that if you can kind of master those skills, you're probably going to do okay if the day happens. And you know, there's all of the before the fight and there's all of the after the fight. There is that little bit of the fight. You've got to be able to do that well if you're going to do that, and God forbid that you have to do that. We want you to be able to do that well. So that's what we travel around and teach on a pretty frequent basis. Anyway, one of the things that we talk about is a quick draw to first shot. And you know, everybody out there, you know, the sub-second draw thing, there's a million reasons that there's other things that are better than a sub-second draw. There absolutely are. Avoiding it altogether is better than a sub-second draw. Having good verbal skills is probably better than a sub-second draw. You know, never drawing your gun at all is better than having a sub-second draw. I get that. But if everything else over here fails and you have to draw the gun, you need to get it out quickly and visually quietly is kind of the term that maybe somebody else coined it, but it came to me not too long ago, to be able to do that quietly. And when I talk about it, typically what we see from folks when they're really rushing and they're really in a hurry, there's just so much movement, and all of that extra movement takes time and it takes away from your accuracy. So one of the big things that we talk about is the pool of tranquility. And I think that I'm trying to give credit where credit is due. I think that's a Scott Jelinski thing, that I feel like he's the one that told me about this, of drawing from the pool of tranquility. Everything is nice and still and steady. But kind of the way I have adapted it is to consider that you're standing in a pool of water. Literally, if I've got water that is waist deep and I want to draw my gun, what I want to do is I want to draw that thing so that the water stays as clear as glass. There's not a ripple in that. And what we see from a lot of folks is we see a hip movement or a knee movement or a step back or a step forward. You see a lot of elbow stuff, a lot of shoulder stuff, especially depending on where you carry your gun and the size you are. All of this counts. You know, everybody's a different stature now. I'm 6'2" and I weigh a little bit. I got some fluff here. There's a lot of people that are much smaller than me. If you think of the range monkey, or 90% of the population out there is a lot skinnier than I am. I totally get it. You can throw the fat jokes if you want. I don't care. But everybody's a little different stature, so we see different things in different people. And one of the things that we see a lot is what I call the chicken wing. And I fight it a little bit myself as well. But one thing that came to mind in a class not too long ago was there was a guy that was drawing every time he fought this just over and over as he was going to his gun. He was coming in, and this elbow was coming way forward. And I'm exaggerating a little bit for the sake of video, but I was standing basically where the camera is, watching him, and what I would see every time was he would do this, and his elbow would come forward, and then as he drew the gun out, that elbow has to come back into place to push the gun out. That takes time, and you know, if you're going to add a tenth of a second or 0.3 of a second or whatever, every one of those little things adds up and makes your draw a little bit longer. So today's lesson is really on trying to avoid the chicken wing. Now I've got my VP9 here. It's already been cleared. I don't have a barrel block in it today. I'm standing down here on the range. There's nobody around, so I can wave the gun at the camera all day long. It probably won't draw right into the camera, but you can see that that is an empty gun. And it is ready to go. So as I noticed, this is the thing that came to view, was as this guy was clearing his cover garment, he was driving in with his thumb behind the gun, and I'm hoping I'm getting that on camera good, but he was driving in to get that full firing grip because people like that. And some folks still teach that. It's a way to do it, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but what I'm saying is typically when we drive, we have to break that wrist. If you'll follow my wrist, you have to break the wrist to get the thumb down behind there, and when you break the wrist, the elbow comes with it. And so what you see from the side is the elbow comes up to break the wrist to get down behind it, and then as we draw the gun, then the elbow has to come back down before we marry up, and then we go out. Okay, now from another angle, from looking at it forward here, we see the elbow come out, we drive down in, and what we see is the gun comes out like this, and it goes, look at the muzzle, it goes like this as we marry it up together to go aim at our target. Now I'm exaggerating a little bit for camera. You're probably a pro, you're a ninja. If you're a ninja, you probably don't need to be watching this anyway, but we see this in a lot of folks. As the gun comes out, it circles out this way. And really, if the day is coming, we're in that little bit, we want to get in the fight as quickly as we possibly can. That's the goal of all of this, is we absolutely want to avoid the draw to first shot, but if we have to do it, we better be able to do it right. So what I realized is when he was drawing in there with his thumb, that was causing all of that extra motion, and it was adding about 3/10, 4/10 of a second to his draw, which wasn't all that great and fast to begin with. So now we're at a 2-second draw rather than maybe a 1.6 or a 1.5 if we can come up with some efficiencies. So what we worked on was the claw grip, and again, this is nothing I learned from Scott Genolinsky. I don't know if he invented it or somebody else did, but that's where I learned it. And I try to give credit if I can. You know, when you've taken a few thousand hours of classes, it's hard to always give credit, but I want to do my best here. I don't play off like I've invented any of this stuff, but I've implemented a lot of it for myself, and I'm hoping that I can help you do that too. So if you are a thumb full firing grip kind of a draw person, what I would like to have you consider is go to your range where you can draw, or do this in your dry fire. I'm doing this dry fire here today because it's easier to do dry fire standing the camera, but instead of reaching in and breaking the shoulder and the elbow out to get that full firing grip of the gun, you don't really need a full firing grip right here. You need a full firing grip when you're at extension and you're ready to go, or even here you need a good firing grip. You can get that through what we call the claw grip. Now I'll try to get my fat out of the way here, but the claw grip looks like this. I still got my index here, and I'm just scooping in here, getting my fingers behind it, and I've got a full positive control of this gun, but you can see that I'm holding on to it. My thumb is over the back plate. Now I'll draw that out. So what it looks like is I draw it out like so. Now I'll come up to the camera here. My thumb is right there. Now I'm not gripping it really hard with my thumb. I'm just holding on right there. You may be here, you may be here. I wouldn't recommend on this side, but you may be center over, or even a little bit like so from another direction. It's here, or I see a lot of people that are here, and that's completely acceptable as well. What that does is a lot of things. It leaves all of this real estate open so that I can get my other hand on. And then the very last thing that I do as I press out is this thumb comes down so I don't get my slide bite. So I'm coming out to here, hands on, I'm pressing out, I get on the trigger, boom, I don't get the slide bite, but my thumb's out of the way. So again, another efficiency. If I've got a full firing grip from here and I come out, first off, I kind of swing that gun around, but even when I get to here, I either have to put my thumb under the grip, now I've got a less than ideal grip, or I've got to move the thumb out of the way to get in here, and that takes time as well. So why not just go with the claw grip like so, leave this all open so I can get my hand in there and then go to work. So I'm going to give you an idea of what the differences look like from some different angles. So if I go from and I'll try not to exaggerate too much, but I'm going to exaggerate a little bit so you get an idea of what I'm working with. So maybe when you go home or you do your next dry fire, set up your own camera and watch yourself and see what you see. You may not see the exaggerated movement that I see, but if you see anything like it, those are the inefficiencies that you want to personally attack. So go attack your own personal inefficiencies and become the best shooter you can be. You don't have to become the shooter like Neil is, or the shooter like John is, or Chris Bean, or Brian Hill, or any of these other folks. There's tons of great shooters out there. The problem is if we try to emulate them, sometimes we get away from our own stuff. So try to be the best shooter you can be. So find your inefficiencies. So what you're looking for is, as you clear that cover garment, if you see this elbow come out a ton, there's something to do. So now break down why that happened. So for the sake of what I want you to watch here, with the full firing grip, you clear the cover garment, see that elbow comes out as you drive in, and that also a lot of times drives that shoulder up. So now I drive the shoulder up, I get the gun, as I come out, you see how everything is just a little bit awkward. Now I've got to release and let go. What happens to my muzzle? So just do it in slow motion and get out there, do a press, reset, come back in, and do your draw, especially if you're a full firing grip thumb in behind as you come out of the holster kind of person. Then what I would like you to do is come up and get that claw grip and find the claw grip that works for you. If you've got a big dovetail off the back of your gun, you're probably not going to get to be able right on the back slide, but you can get around it if you need to. Then watch. When you get it, you don't have to have the full firing grip, because I'm not shooting the gun right here anyway, so I don't need to have everything that exactly right. I can fix that from between here and here very easy. I need to have my three support fingers on there pretty well, so I get that. No, okay, I feel like that feels good. Note that mentally. Then when you pull the gun out, instead of it coming around like that, it's going to come out right to here. Okay, and then we can marry up, and then the very last thing we do is we press our thumbs out, see our sights, and pull the trigger. It's a very simple one. I feel bad that it took me so long to catch on to this thing, so maybe everybody already knew this and I'm just catching on. But if we can find the little efficiencies as we draw our gun, we can become faster and we can become more accurate on the draw to first shot, which if all of this stuff failed and we find ourselves in this position, we got to be fast and we've got to be accurate, and those are the things that we're trying to teach here. So this week, as you go do your dry fire, if you get to the range and can practice those kind of things, I really strongly recommend put a camera up, see what you see on camera, see if you can find your inefficiencies, and that's just one of them. Other inefficiencies to look for is the hip. If you're a step forward kind of person, if you're a step back, if you're a get off the X person, that's completely acceptable to be a get off the X person. The challenge that we see, and I hear this all of the time from high-end shooters to newbies to people that don't even shoot, is that you've got to get off the X, you've got to do this, and they give you all of these other things you have to be doing while you're drawing and shooting. And I will respectfully submit, if you can't draw and shoot from standing still, you sure as heck can't draw and shoot while you're on the move. And so get this piece down and then add your movement, and then add all that, because all that other stuff is important. I don't disagree with any of that. It's just that you've got to be able to get the basics first. And so, getting that draw to first shot, getting it out there as accurate and smoothly as you possibly can with a visually quiet draw looks a whole lot different than the one with all that extra movement. So the last thing I'm gonna do here today is I'm just gonna show you the two kind of at a little bit more of a speed of what they look like, from facing the camera, from off to the side, and then back of the camera, and just watch what the body does. So the visually noisy draw is gonna look a little bit like this, and you can start with your hands up, you can start at the fig leaf, whatever. That's not the point of this video. So I'm gonna start with kind of my fig leaf thing, but visually loud looks like this. Now see, that was pretty quick. I still got out there. I see my sight. Everything is good, but it was very visually loud because I've got that extra movement, and it's very inefficient. From the side, it kind of looks like this. It's hard to do. It's hard for me to get my second hand on there the way that I need to as well. And from the back, it kind of looks like this. I'm still seeing my sight and everything is good, but you see all of that rocking motion. That takes time, because whatever moves this way has to move back this way so that I can see my sights and get my hit. Now, a more visually quiet one is going to look like this. So standing here, there I see my sights, everything is good. You don't see my shoulders move at all. If you need to rewind that 10 seconds and watch, my shoulders didn't move. From the side, it looks like this. I'm bringing the gun to my eyes. That's another issue. And from the back, it looks like this. Now the difference is I can get my hits and I can do everything, and everything at the end result can be the same either way. You can still be a highly accurate shooter, but if you're a little more efficient with that movement, you're gonna get there a little quicker. And again, when we're in this little portion of the fight where it really counts, you wanna be quicker. So hope that one works. If you guys wanna work on that, hit me up in the comments. Hit the Dry Fire group on Active Self-Protection on Facebook. I'm sorry, you're on extra. And talk about this, share your videos. Go video yourself, do this stuff, share it with a group with some other people. There's a ton of experts in there. I'm in there, but there's a ton of experts in there as well that can help you get better and become a better shooter. If you can get this stuff down, now we can add all that movement and we can add all that other stuff. But if you're starting and building on not a great foundation, not a real solid foundation of being able to get there quick, you might be doing yourself a disservice. Something to consider. Hope it helps. Have a good one.